When people think about the 1964 DB5, generally the first thing that pops in their head is James Bond. It's been in 6 Bond films and it's an incredible historical car, but that's not why I acquired this car. It's specifically because it was Neil Peart's, the drummer from Rush, and this was part of his Silver Surfer collection. I'm excited to store my car here at Veloce Motors The Vault. It's a wonderful place to be, an incredible atmosphere. And instead of talking about it, why don't we get this thing on the road and learn some of the stories behind it. Well, it's an amazing story, really, because I was looking at car auctions, being a rather new collector, and one of the auction companies was hosting the Silver Surfer collection for Neil Peart, the drummer from Rush. And I have been a huge Rush fan for a long time. There are bigger Rush fans than me, but there are certain opportunities that only come once in a lifetime. So upon auction day, I was all set up to bid. This particular car, shockingly, did not trade on auction day. It did not meet the reserve price. So I got in touch with the auction house the next day and said, what does the family want for this DB5? And it was definitely above the price range that I wanted to pay. But after investigating the values of other DB5s since the 1964, it had been driven by Neil extensively and worked on. I couldn't pass it up, so we agreed on a price, and I was very excited to acquire it. Well, Neil Peart's family put out a book. Maybe he intended to put it out before he passed away, I don't know, but it is called The Silver Surfers, and it went through all of the cars in his collection and what he needed to do to both drive them, enjoy them, and there's a section on each car. And this one came with the recollection that this was his first old car, and he was concerned about the work. And when he purchased it, he found out it came as a package with an engineer, car mechanic. His name was Ken Lovejoy, and he was up in Santa Cruz, and he had worked on the car even before Neil had acquired it. So I was fortunate enough to be given Ken's name, talk to him. I was excited about it. Everybody that was around the car absolutely loved the idea that he was going to still be a part of it. And 6 months later, lo and behold, of course, when I was like, hey, it's time for some maintenance, Ken and I got on the phone. He's like, great, love that car, but I'm moving to Portugal. So I was out in the cold a little bit, but fortunately there's a former Bugatti mechanic here in town who's taken a liking to this car and has done a great job. And I should make the point, as amazing of a drummer as Neil always was, he's also as meticulous, and this car runs like a dream. And I've put barely any money into the maintenance for this car in the years that I've had it, so it's been amazing. Per the book and the history and the notes that came along with it, which Neil was meticulous about, it was a binder about that thick, I found that it was restored in 1990 in England, and then Neil did a bunch of work to bring it up to the vantage level that a DB5 should be for those enthusiasts be at, and adding Weber carburetors and some ignition and a couple other things that made it at that level. But other than that, what he did, I've done nothing to do anything except enjoy the car and drive it. It's an amazing experience because Neil was about, should I, restore it perfectly and then look at it and never use it? Should I just hope for the best and never drive it? Or should I just make it a reliable drive and use it? And he did, and that's what I'm doing. I think, in the spirit of Neil's joy of driving these cars up and down the coast of California, that's exactly what I'm doing with it today. Well, a 1960s car isn't always going to start perfectly. I don't care what car you have, but once it gets humming, the most amazing thing about it is how smooth and quiet. So we're in traffic right now, we're idling at a stoplight, and you can barely hear the engine. But then you start it, and you can feel it. It's an incredible experience. Well, I think every other collector would answer in somewhat the same way. I wish I drove it more than I do. Sunny days like this one, fortunately in Southern California, we have an opportunity to drive almost every day of the year. But I would say I'm out maybe once every 2 months enjoying the car. Well, the first thing you got to understand when you're in a right-hand drive car, you got to want it. Like, you better not only know how to drive a stick, but you've got to readjust your foot. The pedals are somewhat close together. And your ability to shift and get my knees up past and so forth. And I think Neil was a pretty tall guy himself, so I'm sure he had the same issues. But once you're rolling, it's so smooth. It drives like almost a car that isn't 60 years old, but a car that might be 20 years old. It is missing some modern features, but that's the whole classic car taste. It's wonderful. Well, the biggest challenges are you never know what you're going to get on a given day. Sometimes she will wake up a little cranky, and you got to give her a little love, a little extra juice in the morning, a little extra time, patience. And I'm not trying to make analogies here, even though it sounds like one, but it can be a slow starter. So from an age standpoint, I don't feel like I lose out on anything. This is a very easy car because it was a super car when it was launched. It was a design, designed at the uppermost, power windows at the time, and some of the other features are amazing for that era. Look, I want to answer this in two ways. One is any older vehicle, and I have a couple of cars that are in that 60s generation, they do require more maintenance. They're not as comfortable from a temperature control standpoint, but they're unique in their own way, and they're really fun to drive in their own way. But the maintenance is a little bit higher. But like I said, Neil did such an amazing job with this engine with Ken Lovejoy that there's almost no work that needs to be done. Has it changed my view on collecting? It's very important to note that if Neil Peart did not own this car, I would not own this car. As I was saying, the way that I looked at car collecting is it has to be something unique, but retention of value or appreciation of value, that is only part of the story. For those that might collect wine, it's about the story behind it. There's a lot that tastes great. Cars, art would be in the same category. Do you love looking at it? Every time I look at this car, I mean, in this ashtray, Neil's cigarette butt and poker chip are still here from when he drove it. I think about Rush. I think about Neil. I think about his life. I have some collectible music memorabilia from different bands over the years, guitars and drumsticks and drum heads and albums. It's amazing, but this is such a unique experience to be part of and share in, his life passion, which I now share as well. So it isn't necessarily about the performance, and this is a very high performance car. It's about the memory and the story behind it that mean just as much to me. Well, it's actually kind of funny because the most memorable moments are when I'm not driving the car. They're when I'm not going to hit another car. Are when I have the car parked at a Cars and Coffee somewhere. So I live near Rancho Santa Fe, California, and there are a number of Cars and Coffee on Saturday mornings throughout the year. And people come by and they say, James Bond, James Bond, James Bond. And then when I talk about this was one of Neil's cars, they stop for an hour. They want to hear everything about it. They want pictures. They want to look inside. They want to hear the stories. They want to hear how it came about. They want to talk about Rush. They want to talk about the music. And this has just been a very special thing to have to share with other Rush fans. This is a special time for Rush fans. So the last tour being in 2015, now it being 10 years later at the end of 2025, most of us were satisfied with, we're going to be looking at cover bands and we'll be listening to some of the solo music or projects that Alex and Geddy might put together. But here we are, all surprised, all fired up, because Geddy and Alex have elected to join with a new drummer. She's from Europe and she's an amazing, amazing drummer. And the theme that really struck me was they cleared it with his widow, they cleared it with the family, they've talked about it extensively, that it's likely that Neil would not want them to stop doing what they love because he passed. They should pursue their passion and enjoy that and play songs that they love playing. And I think the whole community of Rush fans have really gotten excited about it. So yes, I've been wearing more Rush t-shirts lately because I'm fired up. The best part about it was my wife and son both said, not "are you going?" it's "how many?"
So how many are you going to?
Oh, that's undefined. That's undecided. We'll see. They've talked about doing, of their 40 or so songs that they're going to play, I don't know if it was 35 or 40, they're going to try to do a different set every night, which would be amazing. So that would require more. So whether I go to 3 shows in one city or I go to multi-cities, these are undefined. And like I said before, there are fans that have gone to 200 plus shows. There are bigger fans than me. I'm just glad I can be part of this experience, having this car, this piece of history dedicated and the love for Neil Peart. The uniqueness and singular kind of feeling when you drive a car that is unique as this. You don't see any of them on the road, and I know there are plenty more in existence. I've never seen one before on the street. I do consider this to be another art form. And there are, just like there's bigger Rush fans than me, there are far bigger car enthusiasts than me. But something that is newer, that's kind of part of a fleet of cars, and they made 3,000 of them or something like that. It's somewhat like getting a print of an artist. You can enjoy it and it's in your home, and that's very cool. But to have an original with a story behind it, it's irreplaceable. I would never sell this car. I hope one day my son drives it and he can tell the stories. There was a 1963 split window Corvette that I had my eye on, both from a price point and also as a very cool car. And I think that was one of the things I read. That was actually the car he wanted the most when he was a kid, but then he thought about, well, what car do I want the most now? And so this was his first, call it vintage or older car that he bought. And the Corvette just has such unique styling. And it is a collector's kind of piece. I don't own another Corvette. It's not because I'm a huge Corvette fan, but it just seemed from a price point and practicality of owning a Neil Peart car, that made the most sense. And I guess it was just fate that the family loved this car as much as I do and said, we're not just going to take any price. There has to be a price that we consider to be meaningful. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but this interior has a lot of wear and tear. There are cracks. There's I think the enthusiasts call it patina, where the seat is a little bit torn, a little bit tattered, and it just shows use. And that's actually, quite frankly, something I love about it. It's not something that I'm looking to hold it like a museum piece. I want this car to be something that is used, just like Neil did. When you're talking about cars in a DB5, this is a very special story, but let's spend a second talking about drumming. For an average drummer, below average drummer like myself, playing a Rush song is pretty much a fantasy. So when you compare what I consider to be the Mount Rushmore of drummers, Neil Peart, John Bonham, Stuart Copeland, Danny Carey, there's a longer list, but I think those that are Rush fans understand the discipline around technical drumming, creative drumming. It's an incredible standout. His precision of the progression of that prog rock band from the late 70s through the 80s into the 90s, and then quite frankly being a fan from, I think my first album I was in 7th grade, maybe it was 1983. I got Exit Stage Left, and if you want to call it a girlfriend, whatever that is, in 7th grade, gave it to me. It was already open, so her brother had taken the album, opened it, played it, recorded it, and then I got it. But I remember playing that over and over and over again. It was a live take on a lot of their songs, which sounded, of course, like recording studios specifically perfect and accurate. His ability to create timing that is unprecedented. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So the crazy thing is, as I got older, I had my kids, I was progressing in my career and everything else, I had no idea that Rush was going to become more and more popular. So back in the mid-90s, I think you could see him at a smaller venue. By 2005 and beyond, I mean, it was stadium tour only. And the fact that they're coming back and we're going to be able to see some of those songs played live by Geddy and Alex again is just going to be amazing, with a big fist bump and a real look to the sky. And a thank you, Neil, for creating it all. We appreciate you.